Get that out of your mouth. Shalom, loved ones. All praise to our Father, our high power, Yahweh, through our high priest, high king, Yahushua. Let's get it.
Hey, so look, before you go, I got something for you. It's gonna get you through the tribulation. Got power inside you. All you need is your Bible. Take this Bible. My Bible. In times. Well, rise up when it's time to. Pray for the Holy Spirit here, give you power. Let's get it. My Bible is a key to survival. Have faith, let the Spirit guide you. If you ask, I believe I do. My Bible is a key to survival. We gon' rise up when it's time to. Got power inside. All you need is your Bible. You can take everything I own, don't take my Bible from me. I'm gonna watch and pray, the Messiah's coming. If I come to you for counsel, don't put me on Front Street. I never been into exposing my peeps. Imagine if it was no division, all unity. If we got on one accord, imagine how strong we would be. I'm just a psalmist, I ain't never told no man to follow my lead. I tell him follow Messiah, I was blind too, now I see. Stay faithful, he's willing and able. With no shame, we preach Christ crucified in his resurrection, never stressing. I took L's, I view them L's as lessons. Cross my T's and dot my I's and double check them. Demons trying to steal my joy, but I won't let them. If I fall, I'ma confess it. Dust myself off and keep stepping. Ephesians 6 and 11. Shield of faith on me, I'm well protected. Yeah. My Bible is a key to survival. Have faith, let the Spirit guide you. If you ask, I believe I do. My Bible is a key to survival. We gon' rise up when it's time to. Got power inside you. All you need is your Bible. 1 Corinthians 8, verse 6. Praise Abba, Deuteronomy 10 and 22. They're my forefathers. Romans 11 and 1. He never forgot us. Revelation 2 and 9. I know we at the bottom. Poverty and tribulation, but it's gonna come a time. Recompense is gonna be given out and we gonna rise. Remember who you are. Let's do these commandments. Repent or you gonna perish. We almost out of time. I'm thankful he sent us a savior. With no shame, we preach Christ crucified in his resurrection, never stressing. I took L's, I view them L's as lessons. Cross my T's and dot my I's and double check them. Demons trying to steal my joy, but I won't let them. If I fall, I'ma confess it. Dust myself off and keep stepping. Psalms 91:11. I got angels with me, I'm well protected. Yeah. My Bible is a key to survival. Have faith, let the Spirit guide you. Hey. If you ask, I believe I do. Yeah. My Bible is a key to survival. We gon' rise up when it's time to. Got power inside you. All you need is your Bible. I'm trying to tell y'all. Once you start believing and standing on it, ain't nothing they can do. Work.
Scholar in the building. You know what I'm saying? As you see, sourced up, click. We sourced up and sourced out. Know what I'm talking about? Let's get it. So, we all here at this funeral service to put our brother Garfield A. Reed back in the ground. You know what I'm saying? The brother died today. The brother died today on his own channel during an interview with TUDOR PARFITT. And it just got bad for him because what we've been telling these charlatans is that you had Jews going into the slave trade that were victims of the slave trade. You had black Jews. And for years, D-Red is my witness, Yashar is my witness. These guys have vehemently denied that, fought against us tooth and nail against those two facts, man. Said we were lying, we were making it up, we are disillusioned, and just pretty much spreading all of this dirt on us throughout the community, man. D-Ray, you want to speak to that real quick before we start getting into the clips?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's been a contention since I've been around. I've been around over 10 years. I mean, dealing with some of these cats, like I said, going back to Blog Talk Radio. That's been an argument for a while that the Jews wasn't in the slave trade, wasn't no Jews in West Africa, wasn't no Jewish presence in West Africa. So this is, it's funny to hear it being echoed by academia now. You know what I mean? What we've been saying, and they use some of the same sources. We was using Mongo Park and all them. Same sources we was using. Like, it's not, but when we was pulling out some of them sources, we were saying, they were telling us that it was pseudo, and they would try to find little holes in it. You know what I mean? So it was cool. It was funny because it was like, we've been trying to tell you this, bro. Like, this is common knowledge. It's not, it's common knowledge in academia. It's not, what we're saying is not fringe work. You know what I'm saying? What we're saying is not a fringe concept. It's common knowledge. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Right. So, I mean, we've been hitting them with arguments that same thing to the PARFITT was saying today. Like you said, the Mungo Park, the different slaves that were given accounts, like Odin Dorp that he put in his new book, was given accounts of Black Jews practicing Sabbath observance, abstaining from eating pork, menstruation, separation, and things of that nature, and actually claiming to be actually bloodline Jews, not someone coming, some Hasidic Jew coming down with two curls hanging out the side of his damn head, teaching them the halak. That's not what they're saying. And to see Garfield just be silent on the issue or try to talk around the issue is telling, because you're pseudo. Now, pseudo means not genuine, and these guys are disingenuous. You brought the man on your channel, and you even addressed the fact that he was basically saying the same exact thing we have been saying for years. And there's no secret. You can just look at my channel. We've been making these same claims about the Sephardic Jews being Black, being caught up in the slave trade. I've done whole presentations on it, and you guys sit there and lambasted the information, misrepresented the information, just to have TUDOR PARFITT come on your show and pretty much crush you on every point. On every point. And we got the timestamps, we got the clips, we're going to get right into it. TUDOR PARFITT stuck his scholastic foot all the way up Garfield's rectum today, man. And it showed that you're a charlatan, you have no information, and you suck. Emphasis on suck. Right? So we're gonna get right to it. Oh man, this is before we do that, let me read Fair Use Act so we don't get flagged. We have a right, we are well within our right to review and criticize and critique information, media, videos, or whatnot. Right? So let me get it on Google. Yahoo is tripping. So we don't want to hear no complaints about us sharing our views and information and reviewing on what went down today on Dagger Squad. All right. So as y'all can see on the screen, let me share my screen. Y'all can see shalom to the family that's in. Shalom, Yahukana. You got the link, brother. If you want to jump in and give your 2 cents, you can. Shalom to Plumantis. I see you, brother. You always on every video. You are not going unnoticed. Shout out to all my brothers and sisters that support the channel. But as you can see on the screen, we are well within our right under the fair use law. All right. It says, under the doctrine of fair use, the law allows the use of proportions of copyrighted work without permission from the owner. Fair use is a defense to copyright infringement. This means that an unauthorized use of copyrighted material is excusable if it falls under the principle of fair use. Although the law does provide guidelines for making this assessment, determining fair use is not always easy since it's a gray area of the law. Consequently, courts make decisions on a case-by-case basis. Under the Title 17 U.S. Code, copyright owners have the right to limit the use of their creative work, and owner has the right to distribute, reproduce, display, make derivatives, or perform work in public. The right applies to both published and unpublished works, fixed or tangible medium, right? That includes literature, music, motion pictures, so on and so forth, right? So if we go down, under the Copyright Act, the fair use of copyrighted material without permission is allowed when used for the following purpose: criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including making copies for the use in the classroom, scholarship and research, or parody. So we are doing a mixture of all of that. We're going to be critiquing, we're going to be doing parody, and we're going to be giving commentary, and we're actually scholars, and we're doing this for research purposes. So we're well within our right to review and criticize and comment on the video that took place today on Dagger Squad, and we're gonna actually refer to Sister E's video as well. All right. Yeah, right, Warrior Lord. Looks like Brother Garfield getting smoked left and right and center. The old broke down Garfield who still cannot produce his book since 2018. That's funny because D-Red been on that man bumper about that book, and he ain't gonna bring that book out because he's afraid of what's gonna happen to him. When he does, he's gonna get exposed as a pseudo. All right, now, no further ado, let's get into the main course. The reason we here, the TUDOR PARFITT interview with our brother Garfield. All right, we're gonna start at the 13-minute marker, around the 12 to 13-minute marker.
Manifestations in Africa. So an obvious example is Ekpiano. I'm sure you all know about him.
Yes, sir.
A former
Let me go back a little bit.
enslaved population to the quite regularly articulated through the idea of the lost, or the sense that they do belong to the people of Israel through this myth. But very often it's concealing some historical truth.
You see what he just said? See, Garfield tried to say, well, in your book, you wrote a book about the Israelites being a myth, the lost tribe being a myth, and these guys are following a myth. But he's talking about myth, and he says, oftentimes myth conceals historical truth. That's what TUDOR PARFITT just told Garfield. And look at his face. He's not liking that because he's been going around pushing myth as if it's pure fiction. Rob Bourne has done the same thing. When you read Edith Bruder's books, he says, I'm not using the term myth to denote pure fiction because these myths contain historical realities. That's the same thing TUDOR PARFITT says. Why do they share the same sentiment? Because Edith Bruder is a student of TUDOR PARFITT. She was under the tutelage of TUDOR PARFITT. She wrote her doctoral thesis and submitted it to PARFITT. So they're saying the same exact thing. So you got beat up on that point. Look at Garfield's face, man. Womp womp.
So let's cut to the chase. The existence of a desire to identify with the people of Israel among African Americans or between people of African origin living in Central America is quite regularly articulated through the idea of the lost tribes. This in itself is a myth. And very often it is formed as a result of a kind of metaphorical identification with the people of Israel. However, that's not the only way
You see him shaking his head. Oh, metaphorical. I like that. Watch this. However, that's not the only way. Watch this.
which a sense of belonging to the people of Israel might have occurred among slave populations in the 18th and early 19th century. And there's some evidence, not very much, but there's some evidence that slaves had an idea of Judaism through Jewish manifestations in Africa. So
we've been saying this for years. So there's some idea that slaves and the idea of Judaism through Jewish manifestations in Africa. Brother Garfield is on record, and we're going to pull the clip up after Tudor PARFITT gets done spanking him, of him saying, show me one Jew that got off a slave ship, one African American, or one African that got off a slave ship claiming to be a Jew, which we already killed that with Uncle Bill. We killed that with Joseph Pellegrino. And we killed that with the two brothers of the Jewish nation that was found down in South Carolina. We killed that. They came off slave ships. They was from Algeria. They got caught up in the slave trade, got sold over here as slaves. We killed that, and they understood they were Jews.
Did you mention Equianus?
Equianus, what they have to do with Equianus? He did not say he was a Jew.
Oh. But I remember, did you get that clip? Please tell me you got that clip.
Which clip?
Where PARFITT mentioned Equiana as one of those individuals he used as a source.
Yeah. That's on you.
Okay.
Go ahead, brother.
an obvious example is Equiano. I'm sure you all know about him.
Yes, sir.
A former slave who mentioned Judaic practices among the Igbo. This is right at the end of the 18th century. It's a very interesting text. And he was talking about Judaism in Nigeria long before anybody had really said very much about the Igbo.
Long before anybody ever said anything about the Igbo, he noticed the Judaic practices and wrote it down in his book. There's nothing Garfield can do but sit there and have egg on his face, man. This is something we've been telling these Negroes for years. And Tudor PARFITT had to come up there, shine his boot, and stump you, man. Proverbially, of course. But you got stumped.
Which was only to happen over the next few decades. Some of my recent work, if you read the Highland very attentively, you'll have to go to the footnotes. You will see there's a lot of evidence produced for black Jewish communities in different parts of West Africa.
Lots of evidence produced for black Jewish presences across West Africa. Look at Garfield's face. Look at his face. Oh, you're not supposed to say that. We've been telling you Negroes this for years. For years. And you bucked against it. You know what I'm saying? You kicked against the pricks, as Paul was saying. And if no one don't know what a prick is what we use to tame wild cattle or wild livestock. And if they kicked against it, the knife or the blade on the end of it would drive deeper and deeper into their flesh. It got more and more painful the more they kicked against it. And Garfield is getting more and more painful for you to keep kicking against common sense and common history, bro. It's getting more and more painful watching you get embarrassed. It should be painful for you, man. But you love getting beat down, man.
Which are not sort of based upon a particular reading of tribal history, let's put it like that.
It's not based on tribal history. He's going to get into it. Why?
But are based on fairly hard historical fact.
hard historical fact. I've done a whole video on what he's finna bring up. The Black Sephardi Jews. Go to Genesis 49 and see it. 2 years ago. Watch.
And this hard historical fact is the expulsion of the Jews from Spain and from Portugal at the end of the 15th century, subsequent to which
what Tudor Parfit is saying, J.A. Rogers said damn near 100 years ago. We've been saying this, that these Jews from Sephardim went and dispersed through Costa Guinea, Principe, Sao Tome, had these children and survived. Some of them got caught up as slaves, some of them were slave traders. We've been saying this. And they were black. You guys have bucked against this for years. And Tudor Parfit is cementing that and has cemented it in his books. So I know you didn't read the book that's on the screen.
A lot of Jews settled, first of all, in northwest Africa, places like Senegal, in the islands, which I'm sure you know about, Saint Tome and Principe,
Yes, sir.
Principally. And then, less known, along the coast of Guinea, so that in the middle of the 16th century, 1560 to be precise, the Portuguese Archbishop of Goa in India proclaimed that Judaism was a kind of horrible illness which has killed millions of people throughout history, and the result of being Jewish was to be covered in shame, to fail in everything, even among the black Jews of Guinea. So, in other words, the existence of Jews in the western parts of Africa was absolutely accepted at the time.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? This is what y'all been fighting against for years. The existence of black Jews was absolutely accepted at the time of that writing. They understood that there were Jews in Western Africa on the coast of Guinea, man. We have done presentation upon presentation. We have dropped source after source. We have showed you over and over again. J.A. Rogers said the same exact thing, and this book is about 100 years old now, man. And you guys lambasted it, called these people, they called J.A. Rogers pseudo. We can't trust these people. And we got to wait on the British Indiana Jones, a.k.a. Tudor Parfit, to vindicate these claims. Because you hate your history, you hate who you are. Y'all always try to throw that on us. Oh, y'all hate your... No, you hate your history because this is a part of your history. It's Black History Month, ain't it? Huh? Shouldn't you be educating the people on these black Jewish communities that proliferated West Africa, in Guinea, in Senegal, in Principe, in Sao Tome, right? The synagogue community, right? The Degregados, the black Sephardim that went into the Caribbean islands, which is funny. They mentioned in their book that a lot of these ideas of tying African Americans to Jews could have came from the children of these Sephardim, i.e. Marcus Garvey, i.e. J.A. Rogers, these people coming from the Caribbean and bringing forth these ideas. You wouldn't know that if you sat down and, like that man said, read his book tentatively, not skimming like you brothers do. And if y'all want to see this brother's book be highlighted and reviewed live, tune in to the source. We're almost finished with Edith Bruder's work, and we're working on Tudor Parfit's whole book. So at the end of this thing, y'all got to be able to just reference our channel, reference our playlist of us covering the book, The Black Jews in Africa and the Americas by Tudor Parfit in its entirety. So there's no question who's reading this stuff.
By the likes of the Portuguese Archbishop of Goa. And then travelers, Mango Park is a good example, kept coming across Jews or evidence of Jewish settlements in West Africa. And we know from various sources that there were, black Jewish communities practicing mainstream Judaism from the end of the 15th century onwards through the next century and so on. And as far as the black Jews that I talk about in this book, because they are the starting point for a wider digression or wider consideration of more racial themes, or rather themes to do with the evolution of the race myth. It's got to do with Loango, and there we've got very, very hard, relatively recent evidence, because there was a scientific mission to West Africa taken by the Germans in 1870, 1871, and they left behind huge tomes in German which describe, among other things, this black Jewish community, which was still at that time practicing a form of Judaism. So Loango, where these people came from, was one of the main slave exporting kingdoms in West Africa, and therefore it is entirely likely that some slaves, anyway, I'm not saying it's all slaves, and I certainly don't subscribe to the idea that all African Americans are naturally Israelites and they have replaced the Jews in the Great Dispensation. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that some Jews, both in Central America and in the United States, had every reason to be influenced by the Judaism that we know to have existed in the 18th century when they crossed to the Americas, either from Loango or from points north, certainly Senegal, and further south, possibly Nigeria. We don't know very much about the practice of Judaism in Nigeria at that time, but let's assume that Ekbiana was not lying.
Mm-hmm. So he just said that some slaves, and then referred to them as Jews, would have been influenced by this Judaism that was inundating West Africa at the time. You Negroes are on record denying that. You have a problem with that. And we're going to give you the video proof right here. You know how we get it. TUDOR PARFITT basically told you that some slaves could have been influenced by the Judaism that was in West Africa. And watch this. Watch what this charlatan said about 4 years ago. And we got on him about this and pretty much chopped him up. I did a video that did 20,000 views on my channel and probably did 60,000 views on Maccabees TV in response to him saying this. You're going to see it right here. Here it is. Y'all can see the video. This is Hell Up in Harlem with Dr. Reggie, Captain Zariah, Gorilla Hebrew, and Garfield by Baba TV. If y'all remember Baba TV, back in that time, you know what I'm saying? That you've been here for a while. So watch what Garfield says. And remember what TUDOR PARFITT said about some of these slaves, and then referring to them as Jews. Watch this.
In the Western Hemisphere. I'm not talking from parts of Africa to Freetown. He's not the first cat that wanted to debate me or have dialogue that I stepped away from. He's a nobody. Chill out. Hey, peace and blessings to everybody here. Well, you know what's going on. I said last week right here that anybody that can provide evidence that anybody who came on a ship to America was a Hebrew Israelite. That's what I said. I'm going to ask Gorilla Hebrew right now. Can you?
Did you hear what he said? Show me that anybody came off a ship here to America that was a Hebrew Israelite. All the Americans are Western Hemisphere, right? Niggas was saying this all like for a minute. This is what they was running to as if it was like a golden grail of their BS. And we just heard TUDOR PARFITT say so eloquently, we go back to it, that some slaves could have in fact been those Jews, man. We get back to a 17-minute marker.
entirely likely that some slaves, anyway, I'm not saying it's all slaves, and I certainly don't subscribe to the idea that all African Americans are naturally Israelites and they have replaced the Jews in the Great Dispensation. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that some Jews, both in Central America and in the United States, had every reason to be influenced by the Judaism that we know to have existed in the 18th century when they crossed to the Americas, either from Loango or from points north, certainly Senegal, and further south, possibly Nigeria. We don't know very much about the practice.
He said the same thing on Sister E channel as well. So Garfield, this is why you always have egg on your face. You suck. You're not a scholar. You're charlatan.
Provide evidence right now that anybody that came over on a ship physically in the Western Hemisphere. I'm not talking from parts of Africa to Freetown where the people of the Yah went.
So Garfield, you died on that. You died when I presented my information years ago with Billy the Jew and those two men that came into Charleston, Carolina, right? And they were identified as being of the Jewish nation. You died then. You died then. But this is even more concretization of your burial, man. And it's embarrassing at this point. Now, I want you guys to see this as well. Right, there's even. Yeah, Hashar busted him on that too, with Billy the Jew. Exactly. Billy the Jew was a Hebrew by his own admission, by his own mouth. He said he was a Jew. He said he came from a tribe of Jews. Yeah, well, he lied. Bruh, how do you know that? You went to a time machine? No. How You Be Praised says, I can believe Garfield and the Dagger Squad is going around telling people J.A. Rogers is pseudo. J.A. Rogers was doing this 100 years ago. What TUDOR PARFITT is doing now, traveling and collecting information. Exactly. And you disrespected this man. That's from the Caribbean as well. You disrespected him because you have an agenda. Truth is our agenda. You understand? Exactly. Garfield got bodied. TUDOR PARFITT bodied Garfield. And TUDOR PARFITT went on Sister E's channel Sunday and pretty much reverberated, well, not reverberating, he will be reverberating this today, but was saying the same exact things on Sister E's channel. So, yeah, Garfield, you done for. Warrior Lord says, TUDOR PARFITT lived amongst African Jews and was able to give first-hand accounts, primary sources, debunking Garfield's pseudo-intellect. Exactly. Everyone should have J.A. Rogers' book, man. It's a staple in the community. Because of many things that is in J.A. Rogers' book, we've been reverberating in the community for years. It's you guys that have a problem with people that are of African descent disseminate information, not us. Y'all hate people that say anything about Jews being black. Y'all hate that. You hate the notion, you hate that. And it's on video, it's recorded, so nobody's lying on you. You're recorded saying these erroneous things, and you're caught, and TUDOR PARFITT put his foot up your ass. All right, so let's go to Sister E's channel now and watch him say the same thing about the slavery. I believe it's the 37-minute marker, or it could be the 1 hour and 17-minute marker. Let me see. It's good.
Plenty of black Jewish communities which had settled long before the beginning of transatlantic slavery.
Let me go back.
With examples of Jewish settlement. If you're looking for black Jews in Africa, there are quite a number of different routes. If you talk to our friends in Nigeria, they will find distant connections going back a very, very long period. That's one possibility. There's not very much historical basis for it, but it doesn't matter.
Exactly, because again, he also says in Sister E's channel, he's not here to cast doubt on the legends or mythos of these people as well. Because he, again, like he said on Garfield's channel, a lot of times these myths and legends conceal historical realities. But if you don't read the man's book, and you don't read either Brutus' book, you're gonna say these erroneous things. You think myth means pure fiction when they say it? Absolutely not. That's not what they're saying and denoting when they use the word myth.
In the case of the Lemba, we have a possibility via the East Coast. So the penetration of Africa from the East Coast. Further north, there's plenty of evidence that Judaism spread into Africa, either from the Yemen, that's what we usually think, or through Africa, or through Egypt, and trickled into different parts of the north. And also, we've got plenty of examples of Jewish settlement in the early 1500s in the northwest, in places like Senegal and Saint Tomé, an island off the west coast of Africa, not very far off the west coast of Africa, and now Luango. So the big question for the African community, African Americans, and there's been a lot of discussion over it, is, there are plenty of people who think, well, Judaism came with us to the United States or to the Americas from Africa, and this is something that's widely rejected as being impossible. But I think my research indicates that nothing is impossible. And given that there were plenty of black Jewish communities which had settled long before the beginning of transatlantic slavery, it's entirely possible that...
What? What the hell just happened? This is crazy, bro. This is absolutely insane.
There were Jews who were enslaved in the West Coast and, of course, in the East Coast. Not that many slaves came from the East Coast. Comparatively, most of the slaves came from the...
So he said it is possible that these Jews or these black Jews were enslaved, caught up in the slave trade. We've been saying this for years. You guys talk and speak about it like, oh, that's impossible. Show me one that came on the slave ship. Show me one of, because you're cynics. You're not scholars, you're cynics. You all exhibit the behavior of cynics. TUDOR PARFITT said, through my research, I'm showing you that this is not impossible. So why do you teach it as if it is impossible? As if you read his book, as you claim. You Negroes didn't read. You Negroes don't read. You don't assess the information. You get on here and you make erroneous claims, and then we come and kill you. We come and kill you because it's easy at that point. Make these erroneous claims that these authors are not making. Now, if I go to his book to show that he's open and he's been open to the idea of the historicity of the Jews being legitimate in Western Africa and having a presence in Western Africa. But if you don't read his damn book, Garfield, you would say some of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Erroneous things that you can come up with. Now I'm just going to share my entire screen on this one. Look. And we will be covering this whole chapter, the entire chapter here on the source. All right? So this is Black Jews in Africa and the Americas by TUDOR PARFITT. Page number 43. It says, from Equiano's time to our own day, the discourse placing Jews in West Africa or constructing West Africans as an Israelite racial entity has continued to develop and expand with some remarkable consequences. Throughout the 19th century, Jewish or Israelite traits and languages were imagined into existence with great regularity. Now they'll be like, oh, well, he used the word imagine. Just keep reading. And the biological origins and racial stereotypes of many West African peoples were stated to be Jewish or Israelites. Sometimes indigenous origin myths were also invoked to insert Semitic origins. Watch this. To show that this guy is open and objective with his scholarship, he says these may have contained some element of historical memory of actual Jewish presence in West Africa. So the guy is not just coming out here swinging his sword to the notion of Israelites in Africa. He said, hey, these things could contain elements of historical memory of a Jewish presence. Now, is he open to other things? Yes, because he says, or more likely may have come about as a result of Muslim influence. But the point is, he's objective. You guys present this guy's information as if he's not objective. It says thus. So again, he says these may have contained some element of historical memory of actual Jewish presence in West Africa. It says thus the Soninke people who are scattered throughout and beyond the area of the ancient Ghana Empire allegedly had traditions that claimed an extraneous origin for themselves, which invoked the memory of Dinga, their ancestor, who was believed to be of Middle Eastern extraction, to have come from Jerusalem or perhaps from Yemen. Remember, he brought up Yemen. Dinga's own direct ancestors were variously believed to be biblical Job, King Solomon, or King David. One French colonial official, Maurice Delafos, basing his views in part upon these tribal traditions, concluded that the Ghana Empire had been founded by a nomadic group from northern Africa of Middle Eastern origin, and constructed a theory around the Judeo-Syrian racial origin of the Soninke. All right, so we can clearly see in his book that he gives the possibility of there being an actual historical Jewish presence in West Africa. He's not seen it like you guys try to paint him to be, like you guys are. All right, let's get back to the footage. Let's get back to the footage, man. Let's get back to the footage. So we can clearly see, Garfield, you died on your own show. This guy pretty much wiped the floor with you. And we're going to get to the next part. After we review Sister E and the portion where he talks about the existence of Black Jews on Sister E's channel, which is an hour and 17-minute marker, right? So let's cue this back up. Now we're going to go to the hour and 17-minute marker.
I believe that they're descended from the orphans who were exiled, the Jewish orphans.
I think this is how I'm paraphrasing it.
Well, I don't know about that reference, and I'd be very surprised if it were entirely true. I think they would have known a bit of European languages because, after all, they traded. But in none of my sources do I get that. And I believe that they're descended from the orphans who were exiled, the Jewish orphans, Spanish Jewish orphans who were exiled to the Portuguese possession of São Tomé. But there's no absolute proof of that. It's probable, but you're absolutely right that there were plenty of other settlements, particularly in Senegal and down the what's called La Petite Côte, and there are a couple of very good books on the subject of this Sephardi settlement in the West Africa. We know, for instance, that by the middle of the 16th century, so 1550-ish, there were a number of communities that by then were Black. They intermarried and but they maintained Judaism, and that's in Senegal. And undoubtedly, there were others further south, and we have references to these Black Jews going way down the coast of West Africa. So the people that say, there just aren't any Jews in Black Africa, or there's no proof of it, are simply wrong.
Y'all been saying that for years. Y'all been saying that there are no Jews, there are no Black Jews in West Africa. Y'all been saying that for years. And TUDOR PARFITT got on camera and said the people that are pushing that narrative are wrong. So he's killing the narrative that there were no black Jews in West Africa. He's killing the narrative that they couldn't have got caught up in the slave trade. I just did a whole presentation on the channel about Jews being victims of the slave trade. And I used the Luso-Africans as my case study and to prove my point, because the Luso-Africans were being sold by the Bihogo slave raiders. That's history. There's no way around that. They was getting caught up and sold into Brazil, into the Caribbeans by the Bihogo slave traders, and they were doing these raids and catching these Luso-Africans and selling them, which were descendants of Jews, the Sephardim. But you guys are so pseudo and disingenuous, you don't care about historical truths or historicity. You just care about pushing your agenda, which is to be anti-Israelite, be anti-Bible. And that's why our brother Reggie has a message for Garfield, aka the toilet scholar, man. You will forever be known as the toilet scholar. You're a damn blooper, you're a damn joke.
So he's in the toilet with Rob Boyd.
Right, man. You forever belong in the toilet, man. The proverbial toilet. We flushing you down, man. Period.
In Leonard Jeffries' class, Professor Everest Scobie class, John Henry Clark, he won't even talk to you. Dr. Ben would call you a damn idiot.
Yeah, Garfield. Well said, Dr. Reggie. Garfield, and the funny thing about these clips, Reggie was actually speaking to Garfield, because Garfield got on candid camera and basically tried to deny to the PARFITT and speak, not to the PARFITT, deny Equiano and speak down on Equiano, all because he has a reference in his book about Igbo practices resembling Jewish practices. And the whole book not even about that, but you're going to disregard this man's credibility and disregard him just because he has one reference about us being Jews or being similar to Jews. This guy's mad, man. Right. So, Nehemiah said, can you share the presentation? If you go to my channel right now, because if you're watching live on Genesis 49ers or the Source Debate League, if you scroll down in the videos, you will see where it says, are the Hebrews victims of the slave trade? And I did that presentation a couple months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. You can check that out. And I covered that, and it's it. Exactly, Anonymous Hebrew. This is how you objectively go through information. Exactly. They're not even objectively going through the information. They're just saying, well, this guy disagrees with you. This is what you start doing to these pseudos. Explain and explicate. Demonstrate how he disagrees with it. Don't just say it. Y'all just say stuff, parakeet stuff, and go around the community pushing this narrative and this lie. But you can't demonstrate it. You know why you can't demonstrate it? Because you ain't read the book. People can see I own the book. We're covering the book here on the Source, and it will be covered in its entirety within a week or two. And you guys are going to be able to see who's actually reading the book. All right. So we just watched To the PARFITT basically say anybody that's saying there was no black Jews in Africa are wrong. Now let's go back to Garfield's clip and watch To the PARFITT split Garfield's wig open with the fact that the limba have that drum artifact that's akin to the Ark of the Covenant. All right, let's get it. I believe they started discussing that around the 36-minute marker. Put it stepped in the room. D-Red, did you want to add to that, brother?
I just wanted to say, man, it's pretty much over, man. Like, I think it's actually, I feel it's actually funny. You know what I'm saying? That, you know what I mean? And it shows that people, if they read To the PARFITT, either work, it's clear that you didn't either didn't understand it or you didn't completely read it, because everything that he's pretty much saying in these interviews, he pretty much said them in the book.
Right.
So it's like it's not news to me, but I'm not understanding. Like, okay, put it this way: if I were the position, right? You know what I'm saying? So this is why I'm not really fully understanding. If I hold a position, right, and I want to hold my position, and I have my position debunked, I'm not gonna bring somebody on my show that don't agree with my position. That's gonna go against my. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say either they didn't read it, didn't fully understand what he meant by certain things that he was saying.
Right. I'm gonna say the former. The brother did not read this book in its entirety, and like to the PARFITT told him, if you read my work tentatively, not skim through it, try to find something to fit your narrative. Read the damn book in its entirety. Read why he wrote the book. Like when we read Ida Bruder's preface and why she wrote her book. She wrote her book to give a voice to the Limba, to these African tribes claiming this lineage. Not to lambast them, not to discredit them, not to cast doubt on their legends or their mythos. But if you didn't read the book, as it's clear as day that the people at Garfield's camp did not read the book. That's why he's on here saying you gotta buy these books and read them because you guys ain't read it. And what TUDOR PARFITT's gonna say next, D-Red, is going to kill their whole damn camp, man. It's over for them. They dead. You're dead in the water.
Which existed in the area of today's Republic of Congo. I think it probably went as far north as Gabon and also into the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is that vast part of West Africa. And this was a kind of, it was something like a secret society. It was a society of healing. The people concerned were doctors, medicine men, and the symbol of their activities, this Lemba activity, was a drum of healing. Now, to non-Africans, this isn't making much sense, but if you're steeped in African history, African traditions, the weight of the idea of the drum is considerable. And the drum of the Lemba at the same time is hugely important. It's called Ngoma. And, you know, in the book I wrote about the Ngoma, and some of you may have seen the History Channel movie I did, I have connected the story of the Lemba drum with the idea of the last Ark of the Covenant. It would be easy to...
So Tumba took the drum that they had and he had connected it to the idea, the concept of the lost Ark of the Covenant. Now, he's not saying that it is the lost Ark of the Covenant, but he's saying it's a descendant of the lost Ark of the Covenant. Watch.
Mock this to say, we think you found the lost tribe of the lost Ark of the Covenant. Absolutely not. But I never said that. All I said was that the idea of the lost Ark, the lost Ark, the Ark of the Covenant, somehow entered Africa, and it seems to be represented in the tribal legends. But reality is the tribal history of the Lemba. So
he said it is in reality of the tribal history of the Lemba. Look at Garfield's face. He know he in trouble, man, because you have pushed the narrative that there's no proof, it's all fake, it's all false, made up, pure fiction. And he's giving you archaeology right now. He's giving you historical reality right now. He's giving you comparative analysis right now. Because he's a damn PhD. That's what they do. They have research competency. Not some idiot on the internet that goes around and try to lambast information. He builds his arguments based off information.
What you have is you've got a receptacle made of wood, and if you know your Bible, you'll know that there are two descriptions of the Ark of the Covenant. One is that it was certainly made of wood but covered in gold, and it was quite an elaborate thing, and it had a lid on the top, and there were sort of angels at each end of the top, not really angels exactly, but figures anyway. And that was the, so to speak, the footstool of God. So, and this object was made by Bezalel, the great craftsman. But in the book of Deuteronomy, you will see that Moses himself made an ark, and this was simply made from the acacia trees that were growing on Mount Sinai, and he made this kind of box.
He's referencing Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, when Moses made an ark. He's going to give an explanation. Yeah, one ark that was made for religious purposes, and then you have the other ark that they took out to war with them. And he's saying that the limba drum is analogous to the wooden ark. You see what I'm saying? So that's what he's bringing up, and it's a very powerful point. It's a very powerful point, and it points to the limba having legitimacy to their claims of being Israelites.
So ark just means box, that's all it is, and chest, and he made it, and the broken tablets were put in it, and he took it down, and subsequently, according to Jewish commentators, there were two arks. One, the simple wooden thing, was the Ark of War, and the more elaborate thing was the ark that eventually went into the Holy of Holies, the Devere in the Temple in Jerusalem. So the simple wooden object, the Ark of War, let us hypothesize, according to the book of Jeremiah, was taken to a particular cave. There are Muslim accounts of tribes getting hold of this ark, going down into the Yemen, where Lemba people seem to be from.
You see how he's connecting this ark idea to the Lemba? He's giving them historical provenance with this. Something that Garfield would never do on his show. I'm glad PARFITT came on now, because the truth is coming out now. We have strong arguments to these claims. And look at Garfield trying to think of something to get out of his ass whooping that he gets.
And so that would give a kind of historical connection. And
an historical connection, Garfield. Are you going to comment on that? Or are you going to say, oh, wow, that's interesting? No, you're not. You're going to talk around the point. You're going to try to throw a straw man out there, which you're going to see him do it right after he finishes speaking.
When you think that the Lemba priests carried this relatively rare genetic signature connecting them,
he called this ark or this drum that they got a genetic signature.
Perhaps with the priests of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem carrying something which looks very much like the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, my bad. He's talking about Jake. My bad. He's talking about that Kohen model haplogroup. Well, also we have to understand that the sub-Saharan African element, which they used was the Yoruba, and where Johnny's paper was in Israel, ancient Israel, during the time of the Iron Age 2A period, which is the Israelite period, and that's the period we see all the material culture come up, the terracotta 7-spotted lamps, the Stone Age cut altars. You understand? We see the kings, we see the armory, we see Ahab, we see the theophoric names with Yah in it. during this time period. Sub-Saharan Africans were there, so people harp on the Cohen gene, which is the popular haplotype that's being used, but we do have the Sub-Saharan African haplogroups there as well, which many people don't understand. Limba is a Bantu group. Majority of the Limba are Bantu. The majority of these groups are EM180, E3V8, I think, and then EM2.
Which is to say, it's carried on poles. There are rings on each corner of this object, which I found back in 2006 or 7, and which has got sacred objects inside it, which is carried into war, which can...
And while he's saying all these things and giving these the evidence for the historical connection, Garfield was holding his face down in shame right now. Like, what's the matter with you, Garfield? Because are you upset? Are you sad because he's giving credence to the claims that we have been making and reverberating in the community for years? You look upset. You look sad. You look like your stomach's about to turn.
Kill the people with its flames. And you can go on and on and on. The parallels between the two objects are absolutely overpowering. I'm not in any way saying that, that the object I found was the original Ark of the Covenant, but I would say that it was the great-great-great-great-grandson.
He says that this drum that the Limba were carrying around, having all these parallels, is a historical connection. It's the great-great-great-grandson of the actual Ark of the Covenant. And look at Garfield's face. He's thinking of something to say. And all he's going to say is, oh, well, he's not, before anybody wrote that, he's not saying it's the Ark of the Covenant. Duh! He just said that. But you're not going to sit there and acknowledge that the man made a powerful point with that being a historical connection, because you're a charlatan. You're a charlatan, and you want to push a narrative. So, yeah. Shout out to Mikael. He about to throw up, man. He's about to throw up on camera. He's sick to his stomach, man. Here in TUDOR PARFITT pretty much laid a smackdown on him. So we see.
So, my apologies, family. I don't know why my screen not sharing. I'm just now seeing what's going on. I wanted to pause this though for a minute, and I normally don't do this, but because of me exposing him now.
Hey, so look, before you go.
Because I'm exposing him now, he's in his feelings, and he's saying that the Black Hebrew Israelites exposed liars and deceivers. Oh, man, this dude here. I tell you, when people try to cover up their wickedness, they discord, this is the type of foolishness they do. So we're going to listen in to the clown and listen to him cry. All right, we're going to listen to him cry for a little bit. Live.
Constructs such as moderate Hebrew Israelites into his email. Why did this person deceptively inject the anti-Semitism tone to his thread? It is a dead giveaway and has the urban apologetic community fingerprints all over it. What's interesting,
after having listened to We Woke Now's baseless assertions, allow me to introduce factual evidence that reflects reality. On your screen is the correspondence that took place between Abu and David Bounis on December the 13th of last year, and it reads, "Dear Abdel Masih, thanks for replying. Yes, your suggestion about seeing the sin and Lamed and the rest unclear sounds right. Notice that David Bounis does not endorse the position that We Woke Now and Boom Church initially tried to put forth in the video from November of last year. And notice too the cordial tone of the message, showing that David Bounis was not bullied and that he still engaged Abu very charitably. But listen to We Woke Now and Boom Church's initial claim in their video that they put out in November of last year."
One or two more slides, but he actually confirmed that what you're saying and how you translated it was actually correct in how you translated it. So not only did it confirm what it sees, what it says here in take or grasp the way of the Lord or God, he confirmed.
And what this dude Garfield is pointing out here, shout out to my brother Moore. He did a video with an individual who was confirming some letters, some ancient script, right, that was on the poles or the pools in the church, right? So this is what he's actually talking about right now in his live. I guess he's saying that someone was lying.
Confirms the way you laid it out. And so we go to the next slide here. And so this is another aspect of it, because we had it tilted from, in landscape, but now this is vertical, the actual picture of it. So it kind of gives you more of a understanding of it. So after all of that in the package sent to him, not only did you bring out, but he also it showed there was some other aspects within the pews that we didn't know, or in the pews. So not only does it say take a grasp of God, but it said take a grasp of Yah or God, Israel, with a bass voice, as you put it, or with a loud voice, meaning praise him loudly. That's what this means. So Abu asked, can we find a coherent sentence? Well, yeah, we just did. And not only that, we got a scholar to back it. So we know what the actual language is. We know what's on the pew. We know what the specific pew says. We have it.
On your screen is what originally appeared on Boom Church Atlanta's Facebook page. And it says, with the official stamp of scholar and PhD with the H capitalized, Professor David Boonis. But as you all well know, David Boonis never actually endorsed their position, and it shows the deceptive nature of Boom Church Atlanta. On your screen was David Boonis' correspondence with various people on the 27th of November of last year, and it reads, hello, thanks for your questions. No, I didn't say the script was solitreo, but I did say that it looked to me like the inscription could say Israel in regular Hebrew square script. Of course, I may be wrong. Best wishes, David. Notice that Boonis never...
Is this what he's saying, that the brother was lying for? Like, but I did say that it looked to me like the inscription could say Israel in regular Hebrew square script. Of course, I may be wrong, but you're not, because you wouldn't even made the assumption, and you wouldn't even said that, right? But this is the ignorance of, and now he's listening to somebody give this breakdown, and as you can see in his comprehension of even hearing, let alone reading, he's lacking that. Garfield is a liar. He lacks comprehension. He can't even listen correctly, fam. This is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And he called himself exposing liars and deceivers. Are you kidding me? Brother, you're a liar. You can't get around that. You cannot get around that. You constantly lie. That's your whole life is a lie. You know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. It's not a shot. It's not nobody taking no low blows. That's just the actual factual truth. You're a liar. It's in you. It's through you. Everything that comes out of your mouth is a lie. Unfortunately, Garfield
actually endorsed the position. And here is Boonis' correspondence with Will Brown on November the 27th of last year, and it reads, Dear Will, sorry not to get back to you after you wrote again. I'm very busy with a project I've got to finish up, and it's leaving me no time for anything else. I received an email from someone called, name of it, I'll forward it. Maybe you've been in touch with him. He says he also thinks the inscription could say Israel, but we both think it's not in solitaire script, but in regular Hebrew square letters. Best wishes, David. Here, David Boonis is sharing hesitant words.
Bro, he just confirmed it again. He just confirmed it again. Like, what is this dude doing? Like, he called himself exposing, but he's actually confirming. He's actually, you know what I mean, hurting his own argument. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read it again. Unfortunately, I can't share my screen, but it's sad, man. I don't know what's going on. I got to get this checked out. But he says, maybe you've been in touch with him. He says he also thinks the inscription could say Yisrael. So this is two confirmations, right? He says, but we both think it's not in solid trio script, but in regular Hebrew square letters. And what's the difference? Both is Hebrew script. You understand? And both just confirm the script. Square Hebrew letters saying Yisrael in an American church, man. But this dude is over here going live right now. Hold up.
With Will Brown based on the highlighted markings that Benaiah and Will Brown had sent to him. But on December the 3rd of 2020, David Boonis responded to various people, including William Brown, by saying, "Thanks for your email. When I expressed a few hesitant words about what was written on the church pew, I had no idea that it would help cause such a furor locally and maybe beyond. When I first saw the inscription, I thought it might be Arabic script. Then, after seeing some interpretations by others, it seemed to me that one might be able to read the Hebrew word Yisrael, that is Israel, in it. I am far from sure about this, nor do I think that what seems to be some kind of inscription on the pew is in solitreos, or is necessarily in Hebrew at all. Judging from the reactions I've been receiving, my words were rather misrepresented on William Brown's program. Only part of our..."
So now what we have Mr. Boonis retracting his statement, two statements, right? Because of the pressure that was put on him by you know who. I ain't gonna get into the three-letter guys. You know what I mean? Made up fake race. But anyway, yeah, I'm sure the pressure came from that avenue. And now he's retracting what he said. Oh, well, maybe in none of the other responses from the emails did he, oh man, I made a mistake. This is not it. I was, everything that was said is wrong. Like it's not even necessarily Hebrew at all. He didn't say none of that. He was for sure it was Hebrew and it was a square script. He was for sure about that. Now all of a sudden he's retracting. So this makes the brothers a liar because he stood on something and now he's retracting what he stood on at first. So this makes our brothers liars. This is why I say, you got to watch these charlatans, as my brother truthfully spoke about this clown. Man, listen to this BS, man.
Our email correspondence was presented, and even that seems to have been partially misinterpreted. Peace to all from Jerusalem. Here, David Boonis is very clear that he never endorsed William Brown's position, and this speaks volumes to the deceptive nature of William Brown. Now, this conversation took place between David Boonis and Abu on the 3rd of December of last year, and it reads, "Dear Mr. Al-Mahatani or Abdel-Masih, thanks for your email. I'm sorry it took a while for me to reply. Basically, I confirm your understanding of my correspondence with William Brown. As I had written him in the beginning, the letters looked more Arabic than Hebrew to me, but I'm certainly no authority in Arabic paleography. Before writing you, I spoke with someone very familiar with various Arabic and Hebrew scripts, and he was unable to read any Arabic or, frankly, Hebrew words out of the church pew inscriptions. When someone who had looked at the inscription showed us how he thought the Hebrew word for Israel might be read out of it, it looked to me like it might possibly be so, although I could not see this clearly without the markings and darkenings that he, i.e. William Brown, evidently added. To your questions, did you in fact reach a firm conclusion that a discernible..."
So he added to the pews. Unbelievable, yo. This is how they cover themselves up. You know, it's how when they make a mistake of exposing truth, this is what liars do. This is why, you know, people like Garfield like think that they exposing something, but they just exposing themselves for what they truly are.
Hebrew phrases on the relevant pew? Or did you merely suggest possible interpretations of a collection of markings open to multiple interpretations? And did you support a reading that could be translated, take a grasp of the Lord, etc.? If so, can you share what the precise Hebrew phrase was which was translated that way? My reply is no, I definitely did not reach a firm conclusion to the effect. And yes, I think that at most, the markings are open to multiple interpretations. I certainly cannot make any connection between the English phrase you.
Well, let's just be clear. How can it be a phrase that has multiple interpretations when they only gave one interpretation? They never gave another word. They never gave another name. But this is what you call exposing liars? Man, this is horrible, yo. These brothers don't understand or comprehend a conversation when it's read nor when it's spoken. So how can you take anything that these clowns say as anything that's factual or anything that should be even considered at all? What is going on?
You cited, and any Hebrew expression I can think of. Mic drop. I think it's very clear that Bunis did not endorse their position. After it became very evident that the Bunis appeal had backfired on them and that he had not endorsed the position at any time, they decided to create a fake Hebrew scholar by the name of Richard Katz. This is where William Brown pretended to be a Tel Aviv-based professor until he was exposed for it. At which point, this is where you begin to see the false flagging taking place. And as you're going to see in the following clips, this was actually something that they had already planned before the Bunis and Katz fiasco. They were already planning on false flagging our videos simply because they had no strong rebuttals for our arguments.
You know, I was talking to Dante. Dante said, it's all right. They do some flag them. And that's plain and simple. Because if you flag them, guess what, y'all? They get shut down. So we find out they doing the video, the UA community, that's them. Flag them. Let's shut them down. And that's key. We are going to have to make a concerted effort that if you do our videos like the way you've been doing them, we're going to flag you, and we will get that video shut.
That now that people on the other side of that debate are uncomfortable with where the debate has gone, they're trying to flag the videos and get them taken down. Now, I'm going to show the clip from Berean's show. Before I do so, I want to make a very brief segue and note that our friend over at We Woke Now has recently been making curious claims about having a top secret security clearances with government here, and I'll explain why this is relevant in a moment. But here, take a look at this.
And I can tell you with confidence, there's a reason why. Now I don't have a problem with putting this out there. I don't have a problem with telling you that I have a top secret security clearance. Mm-hmm. You don't get a top secret security clearance if you're out here being messy and all these different things. I just had it adjudicated again.
Okay, so the reason I showed that is because I feel it has some relevance to what I'm about to show from Berean TV, from the show that appeared last night on Berean TV, as Berean shared that apparently our friend that We Woke Now has been telling him that he's not flagging videos. Rather, the government is concerned about the debate over the pews, and they're flagging his critics. They're flagging people who object to him as part of an effort to protect, this important government official with, top secret security clearances. So I'm going to play the clip and listen to this.
This is what's scaring me, and these people eating it up. I don't know.
A lot of Bunis Richard Katz.
Yeah, I'm glad you played that video. Let me ask you this: the David Bunis email, were all those emails legitimate? How did they know that? Okay.
Yeah, because Bunis had correspondence with multiple people, And all Abu did was just because he had correspondence with Abu. And some of those other emails were emails that others had with Bunis, and they sent them to Abu, and Abu sent them to me. So they're all legitimate. The crazy thing is, though, Garfield, check this out. So what led up to December the 31st, 2020, and the videos getting flagged.
Mind you, family, he talking to faithful to God. This is who he talking to right now.
Was Dante and Kelly basically telling people to hit the videos. Why? Because they were being exposed for the Richard Katz stuff. The Bunis thing was the first exposure. Then remember they tried to bring out that fake scholar Richard Katz, which was really William Brown, pretending to be a scholar. After that happened, check this out. Then when we exposed them for lying, all of a sudden now the videos are getting flagged. Like your video got flagged first. You were the first one to get flagged. Then the rest of us started getting hit. Now check this out. Now, thankfully, Abu's videos, none of his videos got taken down. He was able to fight all the strikes. So none of his videos got taken down, even though he got hit, even though they hit him with the copyright strike and all that. But check this out. You know what's crazy? You know, in the conscious community for years, people have said things like, oh, you're an agent, you're an agent. You know, that's always the excuse whenever someone wants to try to undermine someone else. But check this out. Have you ever met a dude who legitimately said he was an agent? Like this dude, Richardson says he's a government agent and that the government is taking videos down because we keep saying his name. Like, yo, tell me that's not crazy, man.
You can't even make that up, yo. You can't even make that up.
You can't even make it up, right? Yo, but check this out, though. That's the reason why you were mad that day. And you weren't mad like saying, I'm going to see him with guns. You were just saying, I want to confront him verbally on some man-to-man stuff, like any man would. Especially when somebody's playing funny. The thing is, I was the one that said, oh, you know, he's got a gun. He might try to do something because Dante is crazy. We don't know. Dante might very well try to do something stupid like that. He might try to shoot somebody. See, you weren't talking about shooting somebody. And the only reason I jokingly said that was because I knew that Dante is legitimately nuts. He's crazy. So they took that and tried to spin doctor that into a lie to say that you were threatening him with guns. And all because they've been exposed on Richard Katz, David Bunis. They've been exposed on misusing old sources. We already exposed them on the Mandingos, the Portingales, the Lanzados. Bro, what have we not exposed these people?
Hold on. Let me say this to the audience because they might not have realized what you just showed. All right, we're debating and arguing about the pews. There's some pews in Georgia Church, the First African Baptist Church. Those pews, people say it's West African Arabic. They've been saying, some people say that's some Islamic Arabic in it or whatever, right? So they wanted to be Hebrew so bad, they made up a professor named Richard Katz. Say he's from a Hebrew university. Come to find out, the dude had the same IP address as one of the Christian brothers from the Boone Church. What's his name? Brown from the Boone Church. So when they got caught,
William Brown, the same phone, the same everything, the same writing style,
everything. He spelled his PhD wrong, everything. So if y'all blind and don't know what we're talking about, that's what we're talking about. William Brown, the dude.
If I could just put momentarily, he claims to be a Hebrew professor and he doesn't know about the Hebrew construct state for the word B'nai. He tried this in the correspondence. We caught him where he lied, where he says that B'nai means son rather than sons of Yisrael, because it's in the construct state. It's in the plural, but in the construct state in Hebrew. See, that's something that you would expect a professor of Hebrew to actually know. But we know Will Brown and Kelly Richardson don't actually know Hebrew. So he exposed himself even there. How the heck are you a Hebrew professor and you don't know about the construct state in Hebrew? Like, that's just bugged. Like, on top of that, so many other things we had already exposed in other videos showing that it was clearly William Brown. So what did they do? They tried to flag down our videos to try to get rid of the evidence so that we wouldn't expose them.
Yep. I remember I was in Jamaica when you told me about it, and it was so sad to see somebody go this far to try to prove something about, you know what I'm saying? And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real carefully here. When I was in Jamaica, I made a video, and family, how do you fake a professor to win basically a YouTube conversation? How do you do that? And then Kelly Richardson doesn't want to come out and say, hey, my family is wrong. And these people are claiming they're Christians and they follow the law, but Garfield is the problem. So let's get Garfield out the way because Garfield is exposing us on Barreen's channel. Because right now, family, every time Barreen invite me on, it's like they get hurt. It's like their pockets get less money. So they like, let's get Garfield out the way. Oh, he's a scammer. He's this. He's threatening people with guns. He's doing all of that stuff to get me out the way because they can't battle what I'm saying. They can't. But ladies and gentlemen, they made up a skull and they still have not come out and admitted yet. This guy Brown, this Boom Church guy.
They haven't admitted it. And here's the thing, since we're also talking about Sister E. Check this out. So in April of last year, 2021, many months later, do you know that Sister E tried to claim with Benaiah Israel? They did a show together. We did a show on my channel exposing them. The the Richard Katz deception, where we talked about the Richard Katz deception revisited. If you go to my YouTube channel, it's the one that has like a leopard and it has a little like talk box that says stop lying in the thumbnail. You'll see it. It has red lettering in black and white. That video, Abu and I, we reviewed the show. Sister E tried to claim that the cats from Georgia cats, remember him, the guy that doesn't even know Hebrew, that he's a professor of Gothic, that was the Richard Katz of Tel Aviv. They tried to claim that dude as Richard Katz. We had long exposed that. Matter of fact, there's a video on my channel called The Richard Katz Deception.
Is that the guy plumber? That's the guy.
The plumber, right. We had debunked that already in December it was December of last year. Now check this out. We already dealt with that. But here they were many months later talking about, we knew this was Katz all along. See, bro, they tried to lie on that. They were still trying to push the lie. It was only recently when Orthodox more started exposing them, especially when it started with the whole Teo thing, that Sister E came on and says, yeah, I was mad about the Richard Katz thing. I was mad. If you were so mad, then why were you trying to defend it months later after we had exposed that William Brown had pretended to be a Tel Aviv-based Hebrew professor? Why were you trying to defend it? So now they're trying to revise history. They're trying to make it seem like they weren't playing funny, even after the fact. They've never apologized. And if she knew it was wrong, why hasn't she come out publicly to say, I apologize for my role in all of this? You know why? Because they have an agenda. And their agenda is to try to hide any counterclaims that expose their folly, their deception, that expose their misusing of sources, their bad arguments, their making up of scholars. They don't want to be exposed. And so what they're doing, they like to talk about people are crafty counsels. They're the real crafty counsel. The way that they behave is exactly like a crafty counsel.
So now, family, we in our community are making up scholars, making up fake PhDs. Now, not only are we making them up, but we fabricating sources. We're not actually showing you the real sources. We're not actually reading the sources that we present. Unfortunately, again, I don't know why my screen is not showing, but it's not showing. And that's a problem. I got to really check on that and see what's going on with that. But to sit here and listen to these two clowns rant, when honestly, they never brought sources. They never brought sources, fam. They never presented sources. They are a talk, tell you something, won't give you a page number, won't give you a paragraph, nothing. But they'll tell you that it's in this book. Go read the book. Then you go tap into the source and it ain't saying what they saying. Just like silly ass Garfield, we were just listening to him and for a few years speak on PARFITT, TUDOR PARFITT, and then get exposed live on his own show, not even really asking him real questions that he will be asking us. and saying that, oh no, we're lying. He wouldn't even address him that way. You understand? He wouldn't get on him, but he have a cordial conversation, listen, right? Don't cut him off. Don't try and control the narrative, right? He want to show that he's all of a sudden a professional. But look at the difference. He is professional to who I call his master, right? But disrespectful to those who so-called look like him. But where did he come from? Where did this fat, short, unhealthy ass thing come from? Like, he came out of nowhere just attacking Israel. But he's talking about, and then he links up with another clown who never shows his face, right? Who's a coward for real and faithful to God. And they talk about an agenda to try and switch the narrative to make you think that these everyday Christians that's waking up coming out of that bullshit religion are actual agents because they tell the people, oh yeah, I got a certain clearance. Well, he had a job, right? He had a career that he had going on. Some people are for real federal agents. Some people are for real police officers. Some people are for real undercover officers that are waking up. And because they wake up, that don't mean that they about to initially just get rid of all of their clearances and all these other different things that pay their bills. I believe that those type of individuals that do wake up and are in those positions, we're going to put themselves in a different position. So when they do walk away, they good. Them and their family. But the dumb stuff that I'm hearing is just utterly ridiculous. And it's coming from those who they call agents. It's like, just like now, like me exposing this clown, he come right behind me talking about he exposing, you know, liars and deceivers in our community. And then got Sister E face all on there, right? Sister E, she proclaims to be an Israelite. So, yeah, I listen to my sister. And if anybody's going to come after her, we as Israelite men got to protect our sisters. So since we here on social media and they trying to expose something, you know, we going to stand up because at the end of the day, she a babe in the awakening. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things that she still got to go through and study for herself to understand why we say what we say, where we coming from. You know what I mean? The re-education ain't easy. It ain't never been easy to do away with what you've been told and taught all this time, to find out that what you've been told and taught ain't what it really is. That take time to shake off all of that. But that's what they doing, and I see it. So, yeah, I got they back. So for these cowards to be trying to call themselves exposing something along with a Jezebel, and I ain't even gonna mention that Jezebel name, but yeah, very loud mouth, very boisterous, very masculine, all that a woman ain't supposed to be, right? So yeah, we're gonna get back to listening to this rant for a minute, and then I'm gonna shut it down.
So they were upset about that. They accused Abu of full controversy between Sister E and myself, because I had a live stream going on at the same time that's still on my channel. That cannot be undermined in any way. Now the crazy thing is, they tried to bring that up when the whole cats thing happened to throw out a red herring so that nobody would focus on the cats thing and somehow focus on that. Now, thankfully, people just ignored Sister E, but she's kept pushing that whole thing. I called her out on it recently in 2021 when I was on Berean. Remember when we had the peace treaty with Dante, the so-called peace treaty? Remember that day I was trying to call her on that she was lying, and she didn't want to talk about it, and Berean at that time was still cool with them, so he was trying to shield her. No disrespect to Berean, but I know Berean was trying to look out for Sister E, which I don't knock him because that's his friend. But there's no apology for that. There's no apology for cats. There's no apology for the misrepresentation on Sister E's end from 2019. This is a woman who continuously shows herself to be disingenuous, to misrepresent the other side, misrepresent information, try to revise the narrative to try to make it seem like we're the bad guy.
Well, fam, I got to get to my twins, man. They terrorizing that doc in here. So I'm going to say shalom so I can get to my little boys and get them some attention.